There were 2 forks, 1 knife, and a wine glass at our table. She used none of them. Instead, she whispered into someone else's ear, a man I'd never seen before, and then laughed. Not the fake laugh she gave me when I made puns during dinner. No, this one had breath in it. Warmth. Like it was meant for just him. I blinked 3 times before I stood up. My hand was shaking, but I told myself it was the draft from the AC. Then I walked across the floor, past people clinking glasses and talking about Q2 projections, like I wasn't about to fall apart in a room full of plastic smiles. She didn't see me until I was close enough to count the freckles on her shoulder. And the stranger, he didn't move. He didn't flinch. He just stood there beside her like he'd earned it. I wish I could tell you I planned my words. I didn't. They crawled out of my mouth on their own. You just destroyed our marriage. The room didn't go silent. No one gasped. The music didn't stop. Only she did. Her laughter died mid-breath, and she turned toward me with a look I still don't know how to name. Then she said it. You're mistaken. No tremble in her voice. No apology in her eyes. Just resignation. Like I was a child interrupting adults. Like the story had already ended for her a long time ago, and I was still stuck in chapter 5. That's when the nausea kicked in. Real, physical nausea, not metaphorical heartbreak. I had to step back to keep from throwing up on my own shoes. Someone tapped me on the shoulder. I turned. It was my boss. He gave me a look that said, "Don't do this here." As if I was the one causing a scene. I turned back around, but she was already gone. Gone. Just like that. No explanation. No defense. No shame. That was 12 hours ago. Since then, I've replayed those 2 words 1,000 times in my head. You're mistaken. Mistaken about what? The kiss? The man? The fact that we were still we? Or was I just mistaken about her, completely, entirely, heartbreakingly wrong about the person I thought I'd come home to for the rest of my life? I haven't cried yet. Maybe I'm waiting for her to come back and say, just kidding. Maybe I'm broken in a way that tears can't fix. But I'm not going to sleep. Not yet. Not until I figure out what she meant. Because if this is the beginning of the end, then I want to watch every piece fall, even if I'm the only one standing in the wreckage. I didn't go home. After the banquet, I drove to a gas station 5 blocks away and just sat there. The car engine idled. The air conditioning hummed. A half-empty bottle of water rolled around in the cup holder like it was mocking me for needing hydration when I felt nothing but hollow. My phone buzzed twice, a group text from coworkers. Great party, let's do it again next quarter. One of them even posted a picture of the event. I was in the background of it, blurry, standing alone at our table. She wasn't next to me. She never even sat down. I zoomed in. She was already with him by then, laughing, her hand on his forearm like it belonged there. He wore a navy suit with a white pocket square. I fixated on that detail. White pocket square. Like he planned to impress someone. Like he dressed for her. I didn't know where she went after she vanished from the banquet. There was no message, no missed call. I dialed her number twice and hung up before the first ring. The 3rd time, it went straight to voicemail. I didn't leave a message. What would I even say? Hey babe, just checking in after you lip-locked a stranger and told me I was hallucinating. Hope you had a nice night. I ended up parking behind our grocery store. It's sad, isn't it? That I sat in the dark, in the back lot of a Kroger, just trying to breathe like a normal person. A security guard tapped on my window at 2 a.m. and asked if I was okay. I said I was waiting for my wife. He nodded like he'd heard that line before. Maybe he had. When I finally dragged myself home just after 3:30, the house looked exactly the same. Nothing broken. Nothing dramatic. Just still. That kind of stillness that makes your ears ring because it's louder than noise. I left the door unlocked. I don't know why. Part of me hoped she'd walk in and say something, anything. But the light stayed off. In the morning, I found her perfume bottle missing. The floral one I never liked, but she said made her feel soft. Her toothbrush was gone too. And her favorite green sweater, the one with the tear in the left sleeve I always offered to stitch but never did. She took it. All these tiny things disappeared, but her wedding ring was still sitting in the ceramic dish on the nightstand. I didn't touch it. I just stood there looking at it like it might explain what was happening. I sat on the edge of the bed with my shoes still on. That's when I saw it, a folded note inside the drawer on her side of the nightstand. I don't know why I opened it. I guess I was hoping for a confession, or a goodbye, or even a list of all the ways I failed. Instead, it was a receipt from a cafe I'd never heard of, paid for in cash. 2 lattes. 1 croissant. 2 days ago. On the back, someone had scribbled something in ink. Same place Friday? I stared at those words for a long time. Same place Friday. It wasn't signed. It wasn't in her handwriting. But I knew what it meant. This didn't just happen at the banquet. That wasn't some spontaneous mistake. This had been going on. Quietly. Behind corners I never knew to look around. While I thought we were just in a slump, she was somewhere else, with someone else, sipping lattes and planning Friday nights. And the worst part? I didn't feel angry. Not yet. I just felt embarrassed. Like I was the last one in the room to get the joke, and everyone else had already laughed and moved on. I haven't called her. I haven't texted. Not because I want to be strong. I don't feel strong at all, but because I'm scared of what she might say if I give her the chance. What if she doubles down on it? What if she tells me again, "You're mistaken," and this time I believe her just to keep from falling apart? I haven't cried. I'm still waiting for the crying part. It's like my heart is buffering, stuck on a spinning wheel, unable to process the full download of pain. Tomorrow is Friday. I think I'll go to that cafe. Maybe I'll see them together. Or maybe I'll finally understand what mistake she thinks I made. Friday came and I was already parked down the street by 6:47 a.m., hands clutching a travel mug of bitter coffee I couldn't even taste. I hadn't showered. I'd barely slept. I had no real plan, just the kind of broken logic only people in my situation understand. Maybe if I saw her with him, I'd finally believe what was already obvious. The cafe didn't have a sign, not even a name on the window, just a faded open flag and a chalkboard out front advertising oat milk and banana bread. I watched from inside my car like a coward. Cars pulled up. People filtered in. A man in running shorts. A woman with a toddler. A college kid with headphones. But not her. By 7:15, I was sweating through my shirt. The kind of sweat that starts in your spine and spreads out because your brain won't stop whispering worst-case scenarios. Maybe she wouldn't show. Maybe it was a one-time thing. Maybe the man she kissed wasn't even the same man she met here. Maybe this was all part of some massive misunderstanding and soon she'd walk through the front door of our house and say, "You overreacted. I was just talking to someone I used to know." But at 7:23, she appeared. She didn't look around. She didn't hesitate. She just walked straight into the cafe in jeans and a cream-colored sweater I didn't recognize. Her hair was tied back casually, not like she was meeting a stranger. Like she belonged here. 2 minutes later, he showed up. It was him. The same guy from the banquet. Navy blue jacket. Clean cut. Confident. This time he was holding a book under one arm and smiling before he even walked in. Like he knew she'd be there. Like this was routine. And there it was proof. Proof that what I saw that night wasn't some fluke. That it wasn't some misunderstood moment. They didn't kiss this time. But they sat in the corner, far from the window, talking closely. She laughed. She touched his arm. He leaned in. And in one small moment, she rested her head on his shoulder. Briefly. Casually. Like she'd done it before. I felt like I was made of glass. I don't remember getting out of the car. I only remember the bell above the cafe door jingling as I stepped inside, and the look on her face when she saw me. Her hand froze halfway to her cup. The man turned. His eyes narrowed. I didn't say anything. I didn't want to make a scene. I just walked up and placed the cafe receipt, the one I'd found in her drawer, on their table. "I guess I wasn't mistaken," I said quietly, my voice raspier than I expected. Darcy stared at me for a few seconds like she was calculating something. Not fear. Not guilt. Just weighing her next move. Then she did the thing that broke me more than the kiss or the receipt or the lies. She stood up. Walked around the table. Put her hand gently on my arm, the same way she used to when I got upset over little things like missed dinners or ignored texts. And she said, "Wendell, go home." That was it. Go home. Like I was interrupting a meeting. Like I was the one embarrassing myself. The man never said a word. Didn't defend her. Didn't threaten me. He just looked at me like I was an old dog who didn't understand that the door had already been shut. I turned. Walked out. Didn't look back. Back in the car, my hands were shaking so badly I dropped the keys twice trying to start the ignition. When I finally got it going, I drove aimlessly for hours. Through neighborhoods I didn't recognize. Past parks I'd never visited. My own reflection in the rearview looked like someone I didn't know. Eventually, I pulled into a Walmart parking lot and sat there until the sun dipped low enough that no one would notice a grown man crying behind the wheel of a scratched-up Honda. Because I did cry. Finally. The kind of cry that leaves you exhausted and confused. That makes you feel embarrassed even when there's no one around to see it. I cried because of what she said, not just "go home," but the way she said it. Like home wasn't her anymore. Like it hadn't been for a while. I don't know what to do now. I don't know if she'll come back. I don't know if I want her to. But I know something shifted today. Something final. 3 days passed. No calls. No texts. No slam doors. Just silence. The kind of silence that becomes its own voice, whispering things at night that I'm not sure are even true anymore. I didn't leave the house, not because I was waiting for her, but because I was afraid of what I'd see if I went anywhere. What if I bumped into her with him again? What if I saw her laugh in a way she never laughed around me? What if the world had already moved on, and I was still frozen in that cafe, holding a receipt like it meant something? On the 4th day, sometime after 7 p.m., I heard the front door open. I thought maybe it was the wind, or maybe I was finally losing it. But then I heard footsteps, hers. Light and decisive. She was wearing heels, which she only wore when she wanted to look taller or stronger or different than the woman I married. I sat motionless on the living room couch, still in the same gray hoodie from 2 days ago, staring at the blank TV screen. She didn't look surprised to see me. "Hi," she said, as if we were neighbors passing in a hallway. She was carrying a small black duffel bag. Not the big suitcase she left with. Just something light enough to sling over one shoulder, like she wasn't planning on staying long. "I just came to get a few things," she added, her voice clipped and casual, like this was a task, not a rupture in a marriage. I didn't answer. I just watched her walk past me into the bedroom. I heard drawers open, hangers shuffle, the slow zip of a garment bag. I don't know how long I sat there before I finally spoke. "Who is he?" I didn't raise my voice. I didn't even look at her. But I could hear her stop moving. "Wendell," she said softly, like she was about to read me bad news off a piece of paper. "This isn't going to help." "You owe me something," I said, louder now. "Anything. The truth, at least." I stood there at that cafe. I stood at our table at the banquet. I waited, and you said I was mistaken. But I wasn't, was I? Silence. She stepped out of the bedroom, and this time she looked different. Not angry. Not cold. Just tired. She had circles under her eyes and her makeup was half removed, like she'd started wiping her face and then forgot why. "His name is Ethan," she said. I felt something sink deep in my chest, like gravity had just doubled inside me. "He's someone I knew a long time ago. From before you and I. We reconnected. It wasn't supposed to become anything, Wendell. I didn't plan for this. I don't even know what I'm doing." "You love him?" I asked, barely getting the words out. She hesitated, then nodded once, and then said, "Not in a way that's fair to you." That sentence. God, that one sentence felt like it flattened me. She walked toward the front door again, gripping the bag, and I stood up like it was the last reflex left in my body. "So that's it?" I asked. "You kiss him in front of my coworkers, tell me I'm wrong, disappear for 4 days, and now you just leave?" "I never wanted to hurt you," she said, her voice shaking now. "I didn't expect to feel disconnected. I didn't expect to feel like I was vanishing in my own life." "You were vanishing?" I asked, my voice breaking. "I thought we were just struggling." "People struggle. They talk. They fix things. They don't. They don't run off to cafes with old lovers and pretend it's normal." She opened the door, then stopped. "I didn't come here to end things, Wendell. Things ended when we both stopped saying what we needed. I just came to pack." She walked out without slamming the door, without even closing it all the way. I stood in that empty frame of the doorway and watched her walk to a car I didn't recognize. She drove off, and I stood there with the evening wind blowing in behind me. I didn't feel anger or hate. I felt erased, like I'd just been edited out of my own life. And then, 20 minutes later, I found something in the trash. A crumpled up envelope with my name on it. Inside was a letter, written by her. And what it said, well, I'll tell you in the next part, because it wasn't what I expected at all. The paper was damp at the corners from where the garbage juice had started to soak into the edges. It smelled faintly of coffee grounds and something citrusy, like the remains of a peeled orange. But I didn't care. I pulled the envelope from the trash with shaking fingers and stared at my name written across the front in blue ink, not cursive, just her neat, careful print. Darcy, my wife, the woman who kissed another man and told me I was mistaken. She wrote this, and then she threw it away. I carried it to the kitchen counter like it might explode if I opened it too fast. I stood there with the envelope in one hand and my useless phone in the other, afraid of what I was about to learn, terrified it might confirm everything I'd already suspected, or worse, introduce some new horror I hadn't even considered yet. I peeled it open slowly. One page, front only. It started without a greeting. No, dear Wendell. No, I'm sorry. Just this. I don't expect you to understand. I barely understand it myself. I didn't write this to defend what I did, and I won't pretend it's forgivable. But I wanted you to know that I tried. I tried to stay. I tried to want the life we built. I tried to be grateful for it. I sat down on the floor right there in the kitchen. My legs couldn't hold me anymore. The letter continued. You were always kind, always steady, but kindness started to feel like a wall instead of a window, and steadiness began to feel like being buried alive in routine. That's not your fault. That's something in me that broke, or maybe something I never fixed. When I met Ethan again, it wasn't love at first sight. It was something quieter. Recognition. Like he was holding a version of me I lost along the way. My throat burned. I couldn't breathe. I kept reading anyway. I didn't come home after the banquet because I couldn't face your eyes. You looked at me like I was still the same woman who used to dance barefoot in the living room with you to those dumb records you loved. I haven't been that woman for a long time. I don't even know who I am now. There was a tiny ink blot near the bottom of the page, like maybe a tear had fallen there, or maybe she'd hesitated with the pen too long. The letter was nearly done. I won't ask for forgiveness. I don't deserve it. And I don't know if I'll stay with Ethan. Maybe I won't. Maybe he'll see the truth about me too and walk away. But I had to know if the part of me that used to feel joy still existed. I had to find her again. I hope someday you find peace, even if it's not with me. Even if it's because I left. No signature. I folded the page and stared at it like it was written in another language. I didn't cry this time. I didn't throw it or scream. I just sat there in the middle of the tile floor as the fridge hummed in the background, and the outside world carried on without me. The worst part? I understood some of it. That's what really wrecked me. I knew what she meant about the routine. I'd felt it too, the quiet decay of a marriage where the same conversations loop, and the same empty smiles fill the gaps between work and dinner. But I thought we were surviving it. I thought we were on the same page. Turns out, she'd already turned to a different chapter, with someone else holding the pen. Later that night, I placed the letter in a drawer. Not to preserve it, but because I couldn't bear to look at it anymore. I didn't eat dinner. I didn't sleep. I just lay on the couch and stared at the ceiling like the answer might be written in the cracks of the drywall. And at 2:19 a.m., my phone buzzed. It was a text from an unknown number. Are you awake? I think we need to talk. I stared at it for a long time. It wasn't from Darcy. It was from Ethan, the man who kissed my wife. I stared at his message until the screen dimmed and went black. Then I tapped it again just to make sure it was real, that I hadn't hallucinated it out of some warped spiral of insomnia and heartache. But it was still there. Are you awake? I think we need to talk. I didn't have his number saved. Why would I? But I knew it was him. I knew the tone, the blunt confidence that came with people who never had to second-guess what they wanted. I almost didn't reply. What would be the point? What could he possibly say that wouldn't feel like a knife pressed into skin already torn open? But then again, I had nothing left to lose. So I typed, "Meet where?" His reply came instantly. "That cafe. 9 a.m. And just like that, I agreed to meet the man who kissed my wife, the man she ran to, the man she might have left me for, or might leave next. I don't know. I didn't even care if she was with him anymore. I just needed answers. Needed to understand what the hell this had become, and maybe, in some broken way, needed to see if he was a real person or just a symbol for everything I wasn't. I didn't sleep again. At sunrise, I took the longest shower of my life. I didn't scrub my skin. I just stood there, letting the water pour down on me like I was trying to wash off everything I'd learned in the last week. The memory of her voice. The note. The receipt. The kiss. The way she said, "Go home." At 8:43, I parked across from the cafe and sat there like a coward. Again. But this time, I wasn't watching her. I was waiting for him. He arrived right on time. Gray jeans. Plain jacket. No fanfare. Just walked in like it was any other day. I waited 1 full minute before following. I didn't want to look desperate. I didn't want to give him that power. But when I walked through the door and saw him sitting at that same corner table, the one they always chose, something in me twisted tight and locked up. He stood when he saw me. "Wendell?" he asked, as if we were on a blind date. I nodded and sat down without shaking his hand. "I didn't come here to fight," he said quickly. "Good," I said, "because I wouldn't win." He exhaled, not a laugh, more like surprise. I guess he expected anger. But all I had left was exhaustion. He reached into his jacket pocket and placed something on the table between us. It was her ring. Her wedding ring. I didn't want to keep it, he said. I didn't feel right giving it back to her. I figured. It was yours, really. I didn't touch it. Just stared at the tiny silver circle. Funny how something so small could carry so much weight. I imagined her twisting it off. Did she cry when she removed it? Or had she already detached from it long before she took it off? Why did you message me? I asked. Ethan leaned back in his chair. His expression was calm, but there was something flickering underneath. Uncertainty? Regret? She told me everything, he said. About the banquet. About you. About the letter. Did she tell you she threw it away? His jaw tightened. No. Well, I muttered, she did. I dug it out of the trash like it was treasure. He looked down at his coffee. That letter wasn't for you. That's what she said. I blinked. Then who the hell was it for? He hesitated. And then he said something that genuinely made my stomach drop. It was for me. I leaned forward. She wrote you a letter and addressed it to me? She wanted me to understand how much you meant to her. How hard this choice was. But she couldn't bring herself to give it to me. So she put your name on it. Like a disguise. A disguise. I had no words. My mouth was dry and my palms were cold, and for a moment I just wanted to scream into the sky like some lunatic from a soap opera. She wrote him a letter disguised as one to me. A love letter wrapped in a goodbye. Ethan must have seen something shift in my face, because his voice softened. Look, Wendell. I didn't come here to gloat or justify anything. I know what this looks like. What it is. I'm not trying to be a hero, but you need to know she's not okay. What does that mean? He exhaled again. She's been staying with her sister, but she hasn't left the house. She barely eats. She barely talks. She told me last night she's thinking of going somewhere, by herself. Said she needs to vanish for a while. I didn't know what to say. Part of me wanted to scream. Why are you telling me this? Another part wanted to ask him if he'd hold her hand as she disappeared from both our lives. But the part that won was the one that felt sick to its core. Because I still loved her. Even now. Even after all this. And that's when I asked something I never thought I'd say out loud. Do you think she's going to come back? Ethan looked at me for a long time. Then, quietly, he said, I don't think she knows where she belongs. The conversation ended shortly after. No handshakes. No resolution. Just a nod. And silence. I walked out of the cafe with the ring in my pocket and a pit in my stomach. And I still don't know what to do with either one. I didn't go home after I left the cafe. I couldn't. I drove past it once, twice, just circled the block like I was waiting for someone to tell me what to do. My hands were still trembling from the conversation with Ethan. His words played back in my head like a cursed recording. She's not okay. She barely eats. She wants to disappear. And the worst one, she wrote that letter to me. I parked in an empty church lot 2 blocks away and sat there until noon. I kept the engine running even though I wasn't going anywhere, staring at the steering wheel like it held some kind of secret map to wherever she'd gone. Eventually, I did something I promised myself I wouldn't do. I went to her sister's house. I hadn't spoken to Lydia in over a year. She never liked me much, and honestly, the feeling was mutual. She always thought I was too soft, too boring, too ordinary for Darcy, said it with her eyes even when she smiled at Christmas dinner. But I remembered where she lived, and I remembered that her driveway could fit 3 cars. Only one was there when I pulled up, a navy Subaru that looked freshly parked. I didn't get out right away. I watched the house from the street like a stalker, chewing my thumbnail and breathing in short, shallow bursts. There was movement in the upstairs window, a shadow crossing the blinds. I told myself it could be Lydia, but then I saw her. Darcy. Hair tied up, wearing an oversized sweatshirt I used to sleep in. She was standing in front of the window, holding a mug, staring out into nothing, or maybe straight through everything. She looked so small. Not like the woman from the banquet. Not like the stranger from the cafe. She looked like someone who was unraveling in slow motion and pretending not to notice. That should have been enough for me. Seeing her. Knowing she was alive. Breathing. But no. I had to do the thing weak men do when they want answers the world refuses to give them. I got out of the car and rang the doorbell. Lydia opened it. She looked just as surprised as I expected, but not angry, not at first. Just defensive. Like she'd been waiting for someone to accuse her of something. What are you doing here, Wendell? She asked, her voice flat. I just want to talk to her, I said. You shouldn't be here. Please. Just 5 minutes. I'll stand on the porch. I won't even step inside. She sighed, glanced behind her, then shut the door in my face. I waited, and then it opened again. And there she was. Darcy. Barefoot. Pale. holding the same mug I'd seen from the window. Her eyes didn't light up when she saw me. They didn't narrow in anger either. They just dimmed, like she was already tired of what this moment was about to cost her. "I'm not coming back," she said softly. "I know," I whispered. "Then why are you here?" I didn't have a good answer. I just stared at her, trying to memorize the way her hair curled around her ears, the way her lip quivered even though she was trying to act calm. I wanted to ask 100 things. Did you ever really love me? Was it ever real? Did you mean it when you said I was your safe place? But instead, I asked, "Are you okay?" She blinked. That question seemed to knock something loose in her expression. She looked down at the mug, then back up. "I don't know," she said. "I haven't been okay in a long time. I thought maybe being with Ethan would fix it. It didn't. So is it over?" I asked. "No," she said. "But I think it will be." I felt like I'd just been punched in the ribs. "Why him?" I asked. "Out of everyone, why him?" Darcy leaned against the doorframe, as if her own words had weight. He reminded me of who I was before I started pretending to be someone I wasn't. Before everything got so small, so scheduled. "You were good to me, Wendell. Better than I ever deserved. But I didn't know how to be good back. And I hated that. So I started looking for someone I could fail with and not feel guilty." I nearly collapsed. My knees gave just a little, but I caught myself on the porch rail. "That letter," I managed, "the one you threw out, it wasn't meant for me." She nodded. "I couldn't say it to your face," she said. "But I wrote it anyway. And then I panicked. I read every word," I said. "And I thought you meant them for me. I read it in the kitchen, on the floor." Darcy covered her mouth and turned away. I think she was crying, but I couldn't tell. I didn't reach for her. I didn't touch her. I just let the air between us stay cold and filled with everything that would never be said again. Then she said something I didn't expect, something that cracked the moment open like lightning. "I might be pregnant." Tom stopped. She didn't look at me, just stared out toward the street. "I don't know yet," she added. "I haven't taken a test, but I've been late, and I've been sick, and I don't know whose it would be." The sky shifted color. The wind picked up. Somewhere down the street, a dog barked. And I stood there, the man she said goodbye to twice, now trying to understand how to breathe in a world where that sentence could exist. "I needed you to know," she whispered, "before you hate me forever." I turned without saying another word and walked back to my car. And for the first time since this nightmare began, I didn't cry, because I wasn't sure this was the worst of it yet. I didn't drive home right away. After she told me, I just kept driving. No GPS, no destination, just roads under tires and an engine that seemed more composed than I was. The words echoed. "I might be pregnant. I don't know whose it would be." That kind of sentence doesn't just settle into your head like a thought. It lives there like an echo chamber. I replayed her voice 1,000 times between one traffic light and the next, trying to interpret every pause, every syllable. Eventually, I found myself at a park near the edge of town. One of those quiet spots where parents push strollers and teenagers huddle in corners whispering about their futures. I parked the car under a tree and watched the wind ripple through the branches like something sacred. I don't know how long I sat there before I reached into my jacket pocket and pulled out the ring. Hers. It felt lighter now, like the weight it used to carry had slowly drained out of it. It no longer belonged to us. Maybe it never really had. It was just a symbol of the hope we once had, the version of us that never really figured out how to last. And I realized, as I looked at it resting in my palm, that I wasn't broken anymore. Not angry. Not numb. Not consumed. Just ready. That night, I did something I hadn't done in weeks. I made dinner. A simple one, eggs and toast and a fresh pot of coffee. I opened the windows, put on an old jazz record I used to play while folding laundry, and let myself feel human again. I even laughed when I cracked an egg too hard, and it splattered on the stove. The next morning, I went for a walk. I didn't bring my phone, didn't check social media, didn't scan every face in the crowd hoping to see hers. I just walked for me, for the quiet, for the realization that healing doesn't always arrive with trumpets and fireworks. Sometimes it just comes in the form of breathing steadily without needing answers. 2 weeks passed. Then one afternoon, I got a letter in the mail. Handwritten. No return address. I almost didn't open it, but curiosity won. It was from Darcy. No apology this time. No grand confession. Just a single-page note that read, "I'm not pregnant. I took the test. It was just stress. I'm sorry for the way I told you. I was scared. I still am. I'm going away for a while, by myself. Not with him. Not with anyone. I need to figure out who I am when I'm not someone else's escape route. Thank you for everything. For the kindness. For the way you loved me, even when I didn't deserve it. I'll always be grateful. I sat with that letter for a long time. And for the first time, I didn't feel crushed. I felt relief. She was gone. And she wasn't coming back. But it wasn't violent or cruel anymore. It was just life. Changing. Moving. Becoming something else. A month later, I adopted a dog from the shelter, a clumsy mutt named Stanley who steals socks and chases butterflies and looks at me like I'm the best thing that ever happened to him. Some days, I believe him. I started going to the gym again. I even joined a local photography class, something I'd wanted to do for years but always said maybe next month about. And I stopped flinching every time I passed a cafe. I don't know if Darcy found what she was looking for. I hope she does. But I found something too. Me. Not the broken version she left behind, but the man I'd almost forgotten how to be quiet, observant, full of feeling. Maybe even a little stronger now. A little more free. And when I looked in the mirror the other day, for the first time in a long time, I liked who I saw. I don't need revenge. I don't need closure. I don't even need answers anymore. All I need is the next sunrise. And Stanley waiting at the door, leash in his mouth, ready to walk.